So this is our cactus, dear cactus, and I have to really just say I didn't mean to make it sound any less important than it is, because I could do a 2-hour class just on our prickly pear cactus, because I love prickly pear. It is a multifaceted plant, and it provides so much to us, and it's one of our most prolific plants of this bioregion. But, you know, it's native. It doesn't drink a lot of water, but if you ask a rancher whether or not it's a weed, it's very hard to get rid of, and it will just completely take over fields, especially if it's something that's been degraded from ranching or other things. So it can be a pain for some people. So that means that nobody in Texas, Central Texas, is going to have a problem with anybody wanting to collect and use cactus, because they would love to get rid of as much as they can. So this is a perennial shrub, and it forms these, these pad type appendages, which are modified stems and leaves, and then they have these showy flowers that are just gorgeous. And what you'll see if you go walking around a field and you look inside one of these flowers, and I think you can even see right here, there's one little pollinator maybe buried in there, but sometimes there'll be 6 or 7 different kinds of pollinators drunk on pollen on their backs in the middle of a field, just passed out in this flower. So it's a great pollinator plant. So let me get a sip of water. Sorry, everybody. So this is found all over the place, especially open fields, and prefers the sun. But you will find it in canyons and in woodlands here and there. It's just going to be much more prolific in open sun. So it's used as a food and a medicine, and topically for wounds and infections, internally for digestion and blood sugar. So what I mean digestion is that if you were to open up one of these pads and scoop out the innards, it's very much like aloe. And it's slimy and mucilaginous, and you can put it into a little bit of water, blend it up, or you could put it into a smoothie. And if you have like a dry stomach and dry digestion, you haven't had a movement in a few days and a lot of constipation, this is going to really help with that. It also tends to stabilize blood sugar, so it's a big Mexican-American remedy for diabetes, type 2 diabetes, helping to regulate blood sugar. So the flowers, I like to collect the flowers and make glycerites out of the flowers for use in digestive formulas, and you can also make teas out of them, which you have to be careful of. If you look closely, there's these little glochids surrounding each of the spines, and those take a really long time to pick out of your body. I've spent several hours after harvesting cactus picking little spines out of my body and had to have help doing it. So it's a great practice plant if you wanted to hone your skills as a wild crafter. Go out and harvest prickly pear, because you'll learn all about what not to do as a wild crafter, and how to almost have a Zen-like approach to wild crafting, because you have to be very careful around them. So the food comes in the form of the pads. Almost everyone in Central Texas is familiar with having nopales and eggs in a taco. So you'll even be able to go to most grocery stores here and have it already have all the spines removed and cut up, and you can just throw it into soups or egg dishes or whatever you're cooking as another vegetable. So then the fruits from these beautiful flowers they turn red, and they're called tunas. And you would collect the tunas, and you can do jellies and jams and wines that, again, are helpful for stabilizing blood sugar. And they are full of flavonoids, both the flowers and the fruits. And so these flowers and fruits are going to be helpful to our circulatory systems and strengthening our circulatory systems, especially the small capillaries. So this has got so many things. Like I said, 2 hours on this one plant. I'd say if you don't know about this, look into it. The one contraindication that I'll say is that I have seen a student who took this and got a digestive upset from it, and that was just in a small amount. So there is a small bunch of people who may get triggered, some sort of sensitivity or allergy even to this plant. So just know that you need to be careful with people and just watch that and have them take a drop before they take more, because it's not many people, but when it's bad for somebody, it can be bad. So one of the most interesting ways I'll leave you with of using this plant is one of my friends who has a wilderness skills school here. He'll take the pads and dry the pads out and scrape out the innards. And because these plants are hygroscopic, which means they swell with water, they'll hold water really well. You can dry out the pads and then powder them, and then use that powder on wounds. So if you're bleeding profusely and you had some prickly pear powder and you threw that on the wound, it would stop the bleeding and kind of form a little scab-like covering over it. So pretty neat use as a topical first aid measure. So also just for drawing out infections. It's been used for abscesses, things like that. So I'll try to be short and sweet with that, even though, again, I could spend a long time on cactus. I love cactus.